year's budget process with the Finance Committee, so they should be commended for their activities. Spreadsheet, as I said, is before you. Be happy to answer any questions anyone has. Mr. Mills did distribute a draft of an ordinance on meeting attendance that was related to this. That is one of the areas that the questionnaire asks about is policies the governing body has with regard to meeting attendance. That can be dealt with as you see fit. It is not an element that we counted on one way or another for complying with this year's questionnaire, but depending on how the state decides to change the questionnaire or ratchet up the level of compliance, it could be something in future years they may want to see you act on. So that was the basis on which Mr. Mills prepared and distributed that, but no action is necessary for this evening. The time frame, unfortunately, is very short. We received this questionnaire in the first week in August. It is due back in September 1st, I believe, so that's why it's so quickly before you and not put off to another meeting. But we didn't have a lot of time in terms of completing and then distributing. So that any discussion that we would have to have on this would be necessary tonight, or at least passed on to myself or the CFO prior to September 1st so we can implement that information.
We did something similar last year.
Yeah, this is the second year that they've changed the questionnaire and even the format for scoring. But it is the second year they've done it, and in fact this year I'd say it's a little bit more municipal friendly in the sense that I think there was a little more sensitivity shown in the way questions were asked. I think there was a sense among the municipal officials last year was a bit of gotcha going on. This year it's a little bit more straightforward.
Steve?
Yes.
If you're seeking township committee input on this questionnaire?
Yes, and really the requirement is that I needed to present it to you at this meeting. I can take input from you anytime between now and September 1st when it's due back. I just needed to present it at a public meeting.
Yeah. When did we get this information?
We received the questionnaire in the first week in August, completed it in the last week, and we're getting it with today's agenda.
Okay. I think it should have been sent out in advance, Mr. Mayor. Because really, I believe the most effective way for the township committee to respond is collaboratively, and as you know, in all the Public Meetings Act, we have to do this here. Right. So for us to not have it in advance, I think, doesn't really give us, opportunity to circulate among ourselves and discuss it in public session and see if there are any issues. But just for future, we appreciate we have it in advance.
Okay. And we distributed it on Friday with the agenda packet. I really didn't have a lot of leeway prior to that. But we
basically we just have to announce this in public, but there's no legal obligation on us other than to submit this form. Right. We don't have to vote on any of it.
No, you just have to certify it.
We've done what we had to do.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
Just a comment, if I may. Two comments, actually. One is I agree with Sam about the advisability of having it somewhat earlier. I have perused the questionnaire and the responses, and the responses seem to be in good order as far as I can tell on a brief reading. It's kind of a shame that the state itself doesn't pay attention to the same questions and standards, and I can tell you from looking at a couple of questions, I know they don't. But unfortunately, this is, I think, a matter of do as I say, not as I do. Nonetheless, I think the process does overall benefit our town, and I think probably helps a lot of municipalities. I think some of them may be in greater need of this than Mendham Township. I see no harm in going ahead with it, and obviously, unfortunately, the state also ties a certain amount of money to our complying with this. So that said, I would favor us going ahead with this at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to also comment that Steve and I did talk about John's resolution relative to attendance of meetings. And it was my understanding, I wasn't on the committee anymore, but I thought the committee had actually had something in place that was a little divergent from that. And I wasn't sure you had an opportunity to review that or find it.
Yeah, the only thing I have not gotten any further than what we discussed, but the only thing I recall is the committee did have a policy with respect to various boards and commissions with respect to missed meetings. 3 consecutive missed meetings warranted a possible removal from the board or commission if it was deemed by the chair to have been disruptive to the board's mission. I didn't find, and I will go back and look, anything specific to the
Well,
township.
it does make sense to have some sort of standard. And I
We
think
had a discussion on this a few years back, and I'm trying to remember where it went, and I don't know if we did anything, or...
I know that it was used on the planning board to remove a few people, so if there wasn't a policy, they were alluding to one, and so there must have been something.
I think there was a policy, but I don't know that there was ever a
Adopted
form.
Why don't we ask Mr. Mountain to take a look back at our next meeting or before, if you find anything, let us know before that meeting.
Absolutely.
And then we can consider that along with Mr. Mills' ordinance. I believe it was,
Yeah,
right?
the reality of it is that the Title 40, which deals with much of the municipal regulation, specifies exactly what I placed in the body of the proposed ordinance. So I was at a loss actually to understand why the best practices toolkit, or whatever you want to call it, would even ask us to have an ordinance on it when the state statute already recites what the practice is to be. So I simply took the state statute, blended it into that format, and you have it for your future consideration.
I
believe the left hand-
How we got the best time, if the state statute, they will follow it.
Exactly.
Left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. We'll leave it alone, okay. I'd like to open the meeting for hearing persons present. If anyone from the audience would like to comment, please come forward.
Michael Merritt, Mountainside Road. I'd like to address you on a separate topic from my earlier remarks. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of TAG, and one of the, I think, greatest achievements that we've made in contributions to the community has been to videotape these meetings on an ongoing basis and provide them in a format that they can be broadcast over the local cable channel. And I hope you agree with me that that's been really valuable and important to the community and to its being knowledgeable and informed about the actions of this body. We have discussed, and I have proposed to the TAG Steering Committee, and I'd like to propose to you as well, an idea that might place this process in a more sound financial footing, because we're frankly running out of financial resources to be able to support this on an ongoing basis. It's a small group of people. We've been coordinating the volunteers who do the filming, and we've been coordinating donations to pay for the processing. It's roughly $100 a meeting to process the videotapes into the DVD format for broadcast. It's a nominal expense from the township's point of view, but it's becoming a burden for the small group of people who have made contributions over the past couple of years in support of it. And the idea has been proposed, and I'd like to propose it to you, that we look in our budgeting for next year to divert or dedicate some of the increase in funding coming in from the cable contracts that flow to the township committee, and as I understand do increase on an annual basis, that small money be set aside to pay for the processing of the videotapes. TAG, I believe, is in a position to continue to support the volunteers who provide the taping, but we're running out of, as I said, resources to support the processing of those materials. TAG is an advocacy organization. We're interested in transparency and accountability and shared services and rational capital outlays. We're not looking for any money flows to come directly to us. This would simply be a partnership where the money would flow to the vendor who would process these materials. TAG would coordinate the volunteers to provide the labor, and would then effectively turn over those to be processed, and we're asking for the township to subsidize or I am proposing to TAG and to you that the township, through this mechanism, subsidize the processing of the material so it can be broadcast, and all members of our community who can't come to the meeting have the possibility of watching these proceedings in their home. Thank you.